Hello and welcome to Natural Sciences. Today's topic is ecosystems. So we are going to look at the practice activities for this topic. Now our first activity is a table where you have to match the description in column A with the term in column B. So what we are going to do first is we are going to read the descriptions in column A and then we are going to go to column B to find the suitable term. Right, our first description here is relating to living organisms. So what is it that is relating to living organisms? So you are going to look at column B and find the correct term. The second description says organisms that hunt, kill, and eat other organisms. So you are going to look at column B again, and then number 3 is objects or factors that are non-living. Again, you are going to go to column B and check. Number 4, we have a specific environment where living organisms interact with one another and with their physical environment. And for number 5, we have extreme changes in patterns of weather and climate. Number 6 is the way in which two different species live and interact with each other over a long period. And lastly, we have poor farming practices such as overgrazing leading to soil erosion. So now that we have read these descriptions, I want us to now write which terms fit the descriptions on column A. Right, so the first description there said relating to living organisms. So if you were looking at column B, you would know that for number 1, we have F, which is biotic factors. Right, for number 2, it's organisms that hunt, kill, and eat other organisms. So going again to column B, you would have noticed that our answer for this description is D, which is predators. Number 3, we have objects or factors that are non-living. So then, if you go to column B, the word that matches this description is G, which is abiotic factors. Then number 4 says a specific environment where living organisms interact with one another and with their physical environment. So if you go to B, you would notice that our answer is A, ecosystem. Number 5 is extreme changes in patterns of weather and climate. Again, if you go to B, our answer there would be B. Excuse the pun. Number 6 is the way in which two different species live and interact with each other over a long period of time. So this is C, which is symbiosis. And lastly, we have poor farming practices such as overgrazing, which leads to soil erosion. And if you go to B, you would see that these are human factors, which is E. So if you got all of them or most of them correct, very good to you. Now we are going to move on to our next activity. So with this one, you have to study the photos and information in the table. And then you have to identify the symbiotic interaction in each case and give a reason for your choice. So what we have to do here is you are going to look at the picture here. You are going to look at the picture here, and then from looking at the picture or analyzing the picture, you're going to then identify which interaction is this one, and then you are going to give an explanation of the kind of interaction that you identified. So let us look at the first picture. Here we have a tick on a human skin. A tick on a human skin. The second one, we have a bee feeding on nectar, which is on a flower. So this is our bee. This is the flower. Right, and then the last picture, we have a whale shark and a remora fish. I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is the remora fish here. So you are going to look at these pictures, and then you are going to then have to give us the interaction that is taking place and also explain the interaction. From the lesson, I'm assuming that we already know what is going on here. So, moving on to our solution. So the first one, the tick on a human skin is parasitism. And if you remember, we said parasitism here, the ticks are a parasite that feeds off blood of animals, such as dogs, cows, buck, and humans. So these animals are referred to as the host. The parasite is the tick in this case, and the host is the human skin. So now the host is normally harmed, and sometimes it dies from this interaction. So that is the answer for our first question. Right, moving on to the second one, we have mutualism. Mutualism, remember we said they both benefit. It's a mutual interaction. So mutualism here, we have the bee gets food, which is the nectar, from the flower. And then this flower is pollinated by the bee so that it can reproduce. So both of these species do what? They benefit from the interaction with each other. Hence, we are saying it is mutualism. Right? Moving on to the last picture, we have a whale shark and a remora fish. So this one is commensalism here. The remora fish gets scraps of food that falls out of the shark's mouth. The whale shark is not harmed in this relationship. So the remora fish benefits while the shark is not harmed. So this is commensalism. So if you were able to identify these ones, well done to you. Right, we are going to then move on to the next activity. So this is the last practice question that we have for this topic. Look at the image alongside of grassland ecosystem and answer the questions that follow. So this is a grassland ecosystem, an area that is covered with grass. For each of the animals, discuss how you think the organisms below are interacting with the abiotic factors. So you are going to look at the organism and then explain what interaction is there between the organism and the abiotic environment. So the first organism we have there is the eagle. Now go to the picture. Let us look at where the eagle is. There is our eagle. So you need to tell me, how is this eagle, which is a living organism, interacting with the abiotic environment? The second one is the trees and the grass. These are the trees and this is our grass. So how are the trees interacting with the abiotic environment? And the third one, we have a mouse. This is our mouse over here. So you are going to again explain how this mouse is interacting with abiotic factors. And lastly, we have our worm and insects over here. Right, so I'm guessing by now you've already established the relationship between the two. So we are going to move on to our solution. So for the solution over here, when we are looking at the eagle, which is this one, it uses the wind and the air to soar and glide while it is hunting. So that is how the eagle is interacting with the abiotic factors. Now we are going to move on to the trees. Now when you look at these trees, they say here the trees and the grass are rooted in the soil which is abiotic, so that they do not blow over and they can get water and use sunlight and carbon dioxide during photosynthesis, which is the process of making food. So that is how the trees and the grass are interacting with the abiotic factors. And then the mouse, which is here, creates its home in the ground. It can store its seeds and food in the soil and hide from predators. So that is how the mouse is using the abiotic factors to ensure its survival. Then the last one, which is the worm and the insect, they live in the soil. So they use the soil as their habitat. So that is how the living organisms are interacting with the abiotic factors in this environment. We are going to leave it there for now, and I'll see you after the ad break.